"You saved my life. Now you will marry my daughter," proclaimed the thankful Apache father. Small gusts of wind carried fine sand across the rocky dunes, and the air was dry and harsh. Elias Ward adjusted his backpack straps and wiped sweat from his brow. He had been exploring this remote world for weeks, mapping mineral deposits and searching for signs of life, but Zyphera was unforgiving. Every day brought new challenges, and every night made him wonder if he had made a mistake leaving Earth behind. Elia's small exploration pod, the Orion Scout, had malfunctioned earlier that morning. Its engine sputtered and failed just as he attempted to navigate a deep canyon. Forced to make an emergency landing, Elias had come down far from any mapped settlements. The crash had left him shaken but not defeated. He had survived worse on Earth, and his human resilience had been tested many times. Still, Zyphera was different. The world felt alive in ways humans were not accustomed to. The sand seemed to shift almost purposefully, and the occasional hum of the planet's strange energy left him uneasy. As he made his way across a ridge, Elias noticed something moving in the distance. At first he thought it was another rock formation, but the movement was deliberate, like a living creature. He squinted, trying to focus, and saw the outline of a figure struggling against the wind and sand. A second figure emerged nearby, smaller, seemingly being pushed or dragged along. Elia's heart skipped a beat. Whatever this was, it was in trouble. Instinct took over. Elias grabbed a small stabilization device from his pack, a compact energy net used for research purposes, and ran toward the figures. The sand whipped against his face, biting at his skin, but he pressed on. As he drew closer, the situation became clear. The figures were members of the Apache Collective, a nomadic alien civilization that had only recently been discovered by human explorers. Their tall, angular forms and deep red skin were unmistakable, even at a distance. One elder was trapped under a fallen rock, struggling to rise, while a younger companion tried to help but could not lift it alone. Elias didn't hesitate. "Hold on," he shouted, though he doubted they would understand him. He anchored his device, activated the energy net, and used it to lift the rock just enough for the elder to free themselves. The elder stumbled forward, gasping, while the younger figure, a child or young apprentice by the look of them, steadied them. The elder turned to Elias, their golden eyes wide with surprise. Elias waved, unsure if his gesture meant anything to them. The elder's companion ran to them, pulling them behind a nearby rock for shelter. Elias realized they were shaking, but not from fear of him. It was the wind and the strain of the rescue. The moment felt surreal. A human, alone and stranded, had saved the life of an alien being whose culture was entirely unknown. Elias caught his breath, trying to calm his pounding heart. I'm just trying to help," he said quietly. The words seemed absurd in the empty desert, but he hoped the meaning would translate across species. The elder's eyes narrowed, then softened. They gestured toward him in a way that seemed almost reverent. Elias didn't know what to make of it. Suddenly, a low hum echoed across the canyon, vibrating through the sand and into his boots. Elias froze. The hum grew louder and the sky above seemed to shimmer. From the horizon, a group of tall figures emerged, moving with a grace and precision that made Elias' skin tingle. He realized they were part of the Apache Collective, returning from their patrols. The elder he had saved stepped forward, raising their arms in a gesture of authority. Elias felt their gaze pierce through him, assessing, judging. One of the returning figures, a tall male with markings across his chest and arms, approached. His movements were deliberate, strong, and controlled. Elias noticed the resemblance to the elder, same golden eyes, same angular features, but his presence carried a weight that demanded respect. The elder spoke in a rapid series of clicks and hums that Elias couldn't understand. The young apprentice looked at him nervously, then back to the elder. Elias raised his hands. "I don't understand," he admitted. His voice was calm, but he could feel the tension in the air. He had read about first contacts in human history, the mistakes, the misunderstandings, the tragedies. He hoped he was not repeating them. The tall male finally spoke in a language Elias could comprehend, a rough approximation thanks to his translator device, which had a slight delay. "You have saved my life," the male said. The words were simple, but the tone carried gravity. "Now you must follow the ways of my people." Elias blinked. "The ways? What do you mean?" The male looked at him intently, then gestured to the elder and the apprentice. Elias realized he had no choice but to follow them, at least for now. Whatever this way was, it was deeply important to them. They led him across the dunes, moving toward a cluster of structures partially buried in the sand. The buildings were elegant, unlike anything Elias had seen. They were constructed from smooth stone-like materials, but also integrated energy conduits that glowed faintly beneath the surface. The Apache collective clearly valued both tradition and technology, a combination Elias found fascinating. As they walked, the elder leaned on Elias slightly, their trust evident in the small gesture. Elias marveled at the resilience of these beings. They were physically strong, yet fragile in ways he understood. Their society was complex, bound by codes he could barely begin to comprehend. He wondered how a human, alone and inexperienced in interstellar diplomacy, could navigate such a world. When they reached the settlement, the tall male, who Elias would later learn was named Chieftain Sarok, gestured for him to sit. The elder nodded in agreement, and the apprentice brought a tray of food and water. Elias ate cautiously, observing every detail. The Apache collective valued ritual in everything, the way they moved, the way they spoke, even the way they ate. He realized that understanding their culture would be as important as surviving their world. After a long silence, Sarok spoke again. "You have saved my life," he said, repeating the words Elias had already heard, "and for that you owe a debt of honor." Elias felt a chill run down his spine. The phrase debt of honor sounded simple, but he sensed its weight. I only did what anyone would do," he said. The chieftain shook his head slowly, a mixture of amusement and seriousness in his expression. "In our ways," Sarok said, "saving a life binds you forever. Your honor is now tied to my family. You will be part of us." Elias swallowed hard. "Part of your family?" he asked. He had studied anthropology, first contact theory, and cultural codes, but nothing in his training had prepared him for this. The chieftain's eyes held no malice, only expectation. He realized that, in the eyes of this alien culture, refusing would not just insult Sarok, but potentially endanger himself and any future humans who might visit Zyphera. The elder, who had been silent for most of the conversation, stepped forward. Elias noticed the elder's hands were lined with small scars, evidence of a life filled with challenges and trials. The elder smiled faintly, almost encouragingly, and gestured toward a nearby pavilion. Elias followed, unsure of what awaited him. Inside, the pavilion was decorated with tapestries that depicted historical events of the Apache collective, battles, alliances, and celebrations. Elias could see the emphasis on community and honor woven into every image. He realized that Sarok's expectations were not about coercion. They were about maintaining the integrity of their culture. They saw the world differently, and he would need to adapt if he wanted to survive. As the sun set behind the dunes, casting long shadows across the pavilion, Elias began to understand the magnitude of what had happened. He had come to Zyphera seeking adventure, discovery, and perhaps a place to make a mark on the universe. Instead, he had become part of a living culture, bound by honor to beings who saw life and duty in ways he had never imagined. He took a deep breath and allowed himself a small smile. The journey had only begun, and already it was more extraordinary than he could have hoped. The wind outside whispered through the dunes, carrying with it a promise of challenges, discoveries, and alliances that would shape not only Elia's fate, but the future of human interaction with the Apache collective. One thing was certain: the desert of Zyphra was no longer just a lonely, dangerous place. It was now a stage for destiny, and Elia's was at its center. The morning sun rose over the sandy horizon of Zyphra, painting the desert in soft golds and pinks. Elias woke on a simple mat inside a pavilion decorated with glowing murals. The air smelled faintly of minerals and baked clay, an earthy scent that made him feel both strange and oddly at home. He stretched, feeling the stiffness of yesterday's walk, and glanced at the elder sleeping quietly nearby. Elias had learned their names overnight. The elder he saved was called Aaron, and the apprentice was a young being named Kale. Both watched him with curious eyes as he moved, not in fear, but in a quiet expectation that he would behave with care. Elias realized how much respect these creatures had for their traditions, and he felt the weight of the chieftain's words from yesterday. "Your honor is now tied to my family." Breakfast arrived in the form of small glowing orbs filled with energy-rich nutrients. Elias had never eaten anything like it. The orbs glowed faintly, and when he bit into one, it tasted like a mixture of fruit and something entirely unfamiliar. He swallowed carefully, trying not to offend. Aaron and Kale ate silently, watching him with intense curiosity. Elias guessed they were assessing him, trying to understand his manners as much as his mind. After breakfast, the chieftain, Sarok, summoned Elias to the central chamber of the settlement. The room was circular, with walls carved in swirling patterns that seemed to tell a story. Symbols glowed softly, like a language frozen in light. Elias felt a strange thrill. He had read about human first contact missions, but this was nothing like the controlled simulations he had practiced. Here, he was truly immersed in an alien culture. Sarok stood at the center, tall and commanding. His golden eyes scanned Elias with the patience of someone who had lived many cycles. Elias bowed slightly, a human gesture of respect, and waited for him to speak. "You have saved my life," Sarok said again. "This is a bond that cannot be broken." In the ways of the Apache collective, a life given is a debt that lasts forever. To honor the life you saved, you must fulfill the law of family. Elias swallowed, trying to understand. "Law of family?" he asked. "I don't think I understand your customs fully." Sarok's expression softened, though his tone remained firm. "In our culture," he explained, "when one saves the life of another, the family of the saved is forever linked to the savior. You will join my family. You will marry my daughter." Elias froze. His mouth opened, then closed. His mind raced. He had expected strange customs, but marriage. He had not come to Zyphra to marry an alien. And yet he knew from yesterday's events that refusal could mean dishonor, not just for him, but for all humans who might come to Zyphra in the future. He had to handle this carefully. I don't think that is possible," Elias said cautiously. "I am a human, and I come from a very different world. I respect your culture, but I cannot marry someone I do not know." Sarok's eyes narrowed slightly, not in anger but in contemplation. He spoke in low, measured clicks that Elias' translator slowly converted into words. "To refuse is not dishonor to your life, but dishonor to my family. Yet perhaps there is another way to fulfill the law of family. If your mind and skills can benefit my people, that will honor the debt." Elias blinked. "Benefit your people? How?" "You will live among us," Sarok said. "You will learn our ways, and you will show that humans are more than strangers. You will prove that your life, like mine, can uphold honor." Elias realized the opportunity in the chieftain's words. Perhaps this was not a trap. Perhaps this was a chance to demonstrate the very human qualities that had helped him survive on Earth: ingenuity, problem-solving, and adaptability. Over the next few days, Elias was introduced to the settlement and its people. He observed their rituals, their daily routines, and their relationship with the land. The Apache collective revered the desert, treating every dune and stone as sacred. They harvested energy from the sun and minerals from the ground with precision and care, using technology that blended seamlessly with tradition. Elias was fascinated by how they had integrated science and culture, something humans struggled to do even on their most advanced worlds. Salira, Sarok's daughter, emerged as a striking presence in the settlement. Unlike the other Apache, she moved with quiet authority, yet her eyes carried curiosity and intelligence that rivaled any human scholar. Elias noticed that she did not immediately accept the idea of marriage either. When he accidentally met her alone while exploring a small workshop filled with glowing devices, she raised an eyebrow and studied him silently. "You are the human who saved my father?" she asked, her voice soft but firm. "Yes," Elias replied. "I didn't think I just helped." Salira's lips curved into a faint smile. "Your people seem small yet persistent. You survive by thinking, not by strength." Elias felt a spark of relief. At least someone here understood human traits. "I try," he admitted. "I guess humans are built that way. We find solutions even when it seems impossible," Salira nodded. "Perhaps you can show us. My father believes in honor. He believes your life is now tied to ours. But honor can take many forms. I hope you understand that." Elias realized that Salira was testing him, not for obedience but for intelligence. She was as much a part of the challenge as her father. "I understand," he said carefully. "I want to help. I want to do what is right." In the following days, Tsarok assigned Elias small tasks that seemed trivial at first, organizing energy conduits, calibrating sensors, and analyzing mineral samples. But Elias soon discovered that each task had deeper meaning. The Apache valued efficiency, precision, and ingenuity. Every challenge was a test of intellect, patience, and respect for their world. By approaching these tasks with human creativity, Elias began to earn their trust. One evening, as the twin suns dipped below the horizon, Elias and Salira walked together along a ridge overlooking the settlement. The desert stretched endlessly before them, glowing in shades of pink and gold. Elias turned to her. "I never expected to find a place like this, or people like you. It's incredible." Salira studied him, her expression thoughtful. "You are clever, human. You see solutions where others see only rules. That is why your life can honor my family without marriage. But you must prove it. We have customs, trials that determine worth. You must succeed in them to show that humans are more than strangers." Elias felt both excitement and anxiety. "Trials?" he asked. "Yes," Salira said. "They are not violent, but they test wisdom, creativity, and understanding. You will face them soon. If you succeed, your bond to my family will be honored in full. If you fail, well, you will still be our guest, but the honor will remain incomplete." Elias nodded. This was unfamiliar territory. He had trained for exploration, survival, and scientific research, but not for alien trials of worth. And yet, he felt confident. Humans had survived countless challenges throughout history. Adaptability was in his nature. He could learn, observe, and find solutions where others could not. The next morning, the chieftain announced the first trial. It would test problem-solving and understanding of the land. Elias would need to navigate a series of natural obstacles while respecting the environment, using tools and logic rather than brute force. It was an opportunity to demonstrate human ingenuity in a way the Apache collective could appreciate. As Elias prepared for the trial, Aaron approached him. "You must remember," the elder said in a quiet voice, "that our people value honor above all. Do not think of this as a game. This is the way we understand life. Your actions will reflect not only on yourself but on all humans." Elias nodded solemnly. "I understand. I want to do right by them." The trial began in the heat of midday. Elias faced challenges that tested his thinking, creativity, and attention to detail. He used his knowledge of physics and engineering, applying simple human techniques to overcome obstacles. The Apache watched in silent awe as he solved problems they had struggled with for generations. Each success strengthened their trust, and each small mistake became a learning opportunity rather than a failure. By evening, Elias had completed the trial. He returned to the settlement, exhausted but exhilarated. Saruk and Salira awaited him, their eyes reflecting a mix of curiosity and approval. The chieftain's voice was calm but proud. "You have done well, human. Your life now honors my family not by marriage, but by wisdom and action. You are part of our world in a way that few outsiders ever achieve." Elias felt a swell of relief and pride. He had come to Zyphera seeking adventure and discovery, but he had found something far greater: trust, respect, and a place where human ingenuity mattered. As the twin suns set and the desert glowed softly around them, Elias realized that his journey was only beginning, and that the bond between humans and the Apache collective had been forged not through force, but through courage, intellect, and honor. The desert wind had calmed, leaving Zyphera's dunes bathed in the pale silver light of the twin moons. Elias walked through the settlement, carrying small tools and notes from the morning's experiments. The Apache collective moved quietly around him, their elegant forms blending with the glowing buildings. Yet despite the trust he had earned in the first trial, Elias felt a new tension. He knew that earning respect was only the beginning. Understanding the customs and the people would be far more challenging. Salira appeared silently at his side. She did not startle him. Her presence had become familiar, almost comforting. Her movements were graceful, deliberate, and full of purpose. Elias realized that, unlike the other Apache, she carried the weight of responsibility in every gesture. She was not only the chieftain's daughter, she was a leader in her own right. "You did well yesterday," she said, her voice soft but precise. "The trials test more than strength or knowledge. They test character, understanding, and the willingness to adapt." Elias nodded. "I felt like I was learning their world more than the world was learning me." Salira's eyes sparkled with amusement. "Perhaps, but some of your solutions surprised even us. Humans are small in body but vast in creativity." Elias laughed lightly. "I hope that's a compliment." She smiled faintly. "It is, but you must remember, your success is not proof of marriage or family bonds. You honor my father, yes, but our ways are not easily bent. You must still prove that humans can contribute to our world without breaking it." Elias frowned, sensing the subtle warning beneath her words. I think I understand. You mean I need to earn my place, not just rely on goodwill." "Exactly," Salira replied. "Goodwill alone does not survive here. Wisdom does." As they walked through the settlement, Elias noticed that Salira's eyes often lingered on the young apprentices and scholars. She seemed curious about how they learned, how they applied their skills, and how she could improve their systems. Unlike many leaders, she did not simply command, she observed and adjusted. Elias found himself respecting her more with each passing moment. The day passed in a series of collaborative tasks. Elias worked with Salira to redesign a small energy collector that had been inefficient. He suggested subtle adjustments using human engineering principles: a change in angle for solar intake, minor tweaks in material distribution, and a simpler calibration method. Salira watched intently as he worked, asking questions, challenging assumptions, and occasionally pointing out flaws in his reasoning. They debated without tension, as equals sharing a goal. When the adjustments were complete, the energy collector performed far better than before. The small device glowed brighter, and a soft hum indicated efficiency had increased. The apprentices watched in awe, realizing that this human had brought insight they had never considered. "This is clever," Salira admitted, her eyes bright. "Your perspective is different, and yet it respects our rules. That is why you may honor my father's law without marriage. Humans do not rely on force, They rely on ideas. Elias felt pride, but he also sensed something else, a deeper question within Salira. She seemed to wonder if a human could truly belong without changing the ways of her people too much. He wondered the same thing. Could two species, so different in form, culture, and thinking, truly form a lasting bond? And what did bond mean beyond honor or law? Later, as the twin moons rose high above the desert, Elias found himself in the central chamber again. Sarok was there, seated in quiet meditation, while Salira arranged delicate crystal conduits for an energy demonstration. The room glowed softly, light dancing across the walls in intricate patterns. Elias watched the way Salira worked, careful, patient, aware of every effect. It reminded him of a human scientist at the peak of concentration, yet it was also something more, an art form fused with precision. "You are thinking too far ahead," Salira said suddenly, startling him. "Your mind races, but sometimes you forget to see what is in front of you." Elias smiled. "Maybe. I'm used to planning 10 steps ahead on Earth. Here the rules are different," Salira nodded. "Different, yes, but that is not a weakness. Your mind can see possibilities we do not always consider. That is why you are valuable. But value is not the same as belonging. You must understand us as we understand ourselves." Elias realized that she was teaching him subtly, not only to survive the trials but to respect the culture that bound the Apache collective. He listened carefully, aware that each word was a lesson in diplomacy and human ingenuity. Over the next week, Elias and Salira worked together on a larger challenge, designing a water reclamation system that could capture moisture from Zyphera's rare storms. The project required both technical knowledge and an understanding of local environmental rhythms. Elias studied the desert patterns, applying human logic to predict rainfall and evaporation rates. Salira provided cultural insight, explaining which areas were sacred, which zones were used for specific rituals, and which materials were forbidden in certain constructions. The collaboration was not without conflict. At times, Elias suggested methods that violated tradition, and Salira corrected him gently but firmly. Other times, she admired his ingenuity, pushing him to explore ideas her people had overlooked. Together, they created a prototype system that exceeded expectations, demonstrating that humans and Apache could work side by side without compromising values. One evening, after a long day of work, Salira led Elias to a high ridge overlooking the settlement. The twin moons shone down, illuminating the dunes in soft silver light. Elias felt a sense of peace he had not known since leaving Earth. "You have done well," Salira said quietly. "The settlement speaks of your efforts. You have honored my father's life without marriage. Yet there is more to this bond than trials and tasks. Do you understand what it means to belong here?" Elias paused, looking out over the desert. "I think it means trust, respect, not just doing what is expected but seeing what is needed and acting with care. Belonging is not about rules, it's about purpose." Salira studied him, her expression unreadable. Then she nodded. "You speak well. Perhaps you are beginning to understand. Humans have a strange way of surviving through thought, courage, and connection. That is why you may honor my father's law in ways other than marriage. But you must continue to prove yourself, not for me, but for my people." Elias nodded. He realized she was testing him still, not with tasks or trials, but with understanding, seeing if he could grasp the essence of their culture. He felt the weight of responsibility, but also the excitement of possibility. He could use human ingenuity, creativity, and respect to become not just an ally, but a true bridge between worlds. As the night deepened, they walked back to the settlement. Elias felt a subtle shift in his understanding of the Apache collective. This was more than a culture. It was a living, breathing society that valued thought, honor, and innovation. Humans, he realized, could contribute in ways beyond physical strength. They could think, reason, and inspire. That was the true HFY moment, proof that human ingenuity could thrive even in alien worlds. The next day, Tsarok summoned Elias again. The chieftain's expression was serious but not harsh. "Your efforts have been noted," he said. "But there is a final test before your honor is fully recognized. You must design a system that benefits the entire settlement without disrupting our ways. This is not a simple task. It will require everything you have learned, your skills, your understanding of our culture, and your ability to work with Salira." Elias felt a thrill of determination. This was the culmination of everything he had worked toward. The opportunity to show that humans could be trusted partners, capable of thinking, creating, and respecting an alien culture at the same time. He looked at Salira, who gave a faint smile of encouragement. Together they would face this challenge. Together they would prove that the bond between human and Apache could be strong, honorable, and lasting. Elias spent the next hours planning, measuring, and calculating. He sketched designs, consulted with Salira, and carefully incorporated the lessons he had learned about the desert, the people, and their culture. Each decision was deliberate, each adjustment thoughtful. He was no longer just a human lost on an alien world. He was a problem solver, a partner, and a friend. When the prototype was ready, the settlement gathered to observe. Elias and Salira unveiled a system that captured moisture, filtered minerals, and redistributed energy in a way that honored Apache traditions while improving efficiency. The crowd watched in awe. Tsarok nodded in approval, a proud smile hidden beneath his composed exterior. The elder Aaron gave a subtle nod of respect. Even the young apprentice, Kale, looked at Elias with admiration. Salira turned to him quietly. "You have done it," she said. "You honor my father's life, respect our ways, and show that humans are capable of more than we imagined. This is the true bond. Not marriage, not ritual, but understanding, collaboration, and shared purpose." Elias smiled, feeling the weight of his journey lift slightly. For the first time, he truly felt at home, not because he belonged by law, but because he belonged through action, thought, and respect. Humanity had not conquered Zyphera with force. Instead, human ingenuity had forged a bridge that connected worlds, hearts, and minds. The twin moons of Zyphera reflected off the glowing settlement, and Elias realized that this was only the beginning. The trials had tested him, but now the real journey awaited, one of learning, discovery, and partnership that could shape not only his future, but the destiny of humans and Apache alike. The sun rose slowly over Zyphera, casting long shadows across the desert dunes. Elias stood at the edge of a plateau, staring down at the course laid out for him. The trial of worth, as the chieftain had called it, was more than a test. It was a symbol. Success meant honor for himself, recognition from the Apache collective, and a bond that would cement humans as trusted allies. Failure, he dared not imagine. Salira approached silently, carrying a small tablet of instructions. "This trial is not about strength," she said, her voice calm. "It is about intelligence, judgment, and understanding. You will face challenges that seem simple but have hidden consequences. Your actions will show if humans can honor life, respect culture, and adapt to our ways." Elias nodded, adjusting his gear. "I understand. I will do my best." The first part of the trial was a navigation challenge through Zyphera's canyon network. The canyons were narrow, twisting, and filled with hidden obstacles. Elias had to reach specific markers in order, using only the natural environment and a limited set of tools provided by the Apache. No technology outside what they allowed could be used. As he moved through the canyon, Elias realized that brute force would not help him. Some passages were too narrow, others too steep. He carefully observed the patterns of wind, the placement of rocks, and the subtle signs of movement left by Zyphera's desert fauna. Using human ingenuity, he crafted simple levers from stones and flexible plant fibers, allowing him to shift obstacles with minimal effort. By midday, he had completed the canyon segment. The Apache observers, hidden on ledges and behind rock formations, watched silently. Elias felt a mixture of pride and relief. He knew the challenge was far from over. The second part of the trial tested his understanding of the environment and local culture. Elias was given a task: create a system to safely transport water from a rare desert spring to the settlement without disturbing sacred zones. The chieftain emphasized that failure to respect the land would result in dishonor, no matter how clever the solution. Elias studied the topography and the flow of the spring. He remembered Salira's guidance from previous projects and considered how the Apache valued harmony with the land. Using lightweight conduits and simple gravity-fed channels, he designed a system that wound carefully around sacred areas. He tested it with small amounts of water first, adjusting the angles and flow to avoid spills. When the system functioned perfectly, a small cheer rose from the apprentices observing the trial. Elias felt a rush of accomplishment. Not only had he solved a technical problem, but he had done so while honoring the culture that had saved him. The final part of the trial was a puzzle of diplomacy. Elias was presented with a scenario in which two neighboring Apache clans had disagreements over resource allocation. Both sides were equally respected, and the chieftain expected a solution that would satisfy everyone without conflict. Elias studied the reports, maps, and historical accounts provided. He realized that a simple compromise would not be enough. He needed to think creatively. Drawing on human negotiation techniques and lessons from Salira, he proposed a rotational system of resource sharing, combined with shared monitoring stations where both clans could oversee fairness. When he presented the solution, Tsarok's golden eyes shone with interest. The other elders nodded, impressed by the clarity and respect in his proposal. "You have not only solved the problem," Tsarok said, "but you have preserved honor and strengthened trust. This is a sign of true worth." Elias felt a swell of pride, but he also noticed Salira standing nearby, her expression unreadable. After a moment, she stepped forward. "Your ideas show understanding, but remember, understanding is not the same as belonging. To belong, one must continue to act with care, respect, and thoughtfulness every day." Elias nodded. "I understand. Belonging isn't a single act, it's continuous effort." Tsarok gestured for Elias to follow him. They walked to the edge of a high plateau overlooking the entire settlement. The glowing buildings shimmered beneath the twin suns, and the desert stretched endlessly beyond. "You have completed the trial of worth," Tsarok said. "Your mind and actions have honored my life and the honor of my family. From this moment, humans are no longer strangers. You are a bridge between our worlds." Elias felt a surge of emotion. He had survived the desert, learned the Apache ways, and now earned their respect, not through force, but through thought, care, and creativity. He realized that this was the essence of being human, using ingenuity and empathy to navigate challenges that others might solve with strength alone. After the trial, Salira led Elias to a quiet garden within the settlement. The garden was filled with crystalline plants that glowed softly in the desert light. It was a place of reflection, designed to remind the Apache of balance, harmony, and the importance of thoughtful action. "You did well," Salira said, sitting beside him. "But trials are only one part of honor. True honor comes from daily actions, from how you treat people, and how you respect the world around you." Elias looked around at the glowing plants and the peaceful surroundings. "I think I understand now. On Earth, we often measure success by results or power. Here, it's different. Success is about care, respect, and creating trust. It's human ingenuity applied wisely." Salira smiled faintly. "Exactly, and that is why your life honors my father. You have shown that humans can be more than outsiders. You can be partners, allies, and friends." As the twin moons rose over Zyphera, Elias felt a sense of belonging he had never known. The desert that had seemed harsh and lonely was now a place of possibility. He had faced the trial of worth, and in doing so, he had shown that humans could navigate challenges without resorting to force. Later that night, the settlement gathered for a quiet ceremony. The elders presented Elias with a simple emblem of honor, crafted from local minerals and energy conduits. It was a symbol of trust, a recognition of his efforts, and a sign that he had become part of the Apache world in a meaningful way. Sarok addressed the settlement. This human has proven that honor and worth are not limited by species. Through thought, courage, and respect, he has shown us the value of partnership. Let this be a reminder that our worlds are stronger when we understand and trust each other. Elias felt the weight of the moment. He had come to Zyphera seeking adventure, but he had found friendship, trust, and a way to bridge worlds. Humanity's strength was not in domination, but in creativity, empathy, and the courage to do what is right even when the path is uncertain. Salira approached him again, her eyes reflecting the soft glow of the moonlight. Tomorrow you will continue your work with the settlement, but tonight rest. You have earned it. Remember, honor is a journey, not a destination. Elias nodded. He sat quietly, gazing at the desert beyond the walls. The trial of worth had been completed, but he knew that real challenges awaited. The galaxy was vast, full of unknown cultures and worlds. Yet for the first time he felt ready. If humans could survive Earth's challenges, they could thrive in the universe, with wisdom, ingenuity, and respect. As he lay down to sleep, Elias thought of the journey ahead. There would be more trials, more lessons, and more opportunities to show that humanity could rise to any challenge. He smiled faintly, feeling the bond he had forged with the Apache collective. He was not alone. He was part of something larger, a connection that transcended worlds, species, and expectations. And in that moment, beneath Zyphera's twin moons, Elias realized the truth. Humanity's greatest power was not in weapons or numbers, but in the ability to think, adapt, and honor life in all its forms. The morning air on Zyphera was calm, and the settlement glowed softly under the rising twin suns. Elias walked along the central plaza, observing the Apache collective in their daily routines. The trial had been over for several cycles now, and the settlement was beginning to move more smoothly, thanks in part to the systems he had helped design. Water flowed efficiently, energy was better distributed, and the desert's harsh environment was easier to manage. Yet, the question of honor remained. The chieftain's declaration from the day he saved Sarok still echoed in his mind. "You will marry my daughter." Elias had proven his worth in every trial, demonstrated respect for culture, and contributed meaningfully to the settlement. But the human mind struggled with the idea of honor expressed through marriage, especially when it had not been chosen freely. He needed to find a solution that respected both human ethics and Apache tradition. Salira approached him as he considered the problem. Her eyes, bright and intelligent, reflected the soft morning light. "You have done well," she said, "but I know your thoughts are troubled." "Tell me what is in your mind," Elias sighed. "I respect your people, your culture, and your family, but I cannot marry someone I have just met, even if your laws expect it. I want to honor your father, but I also want to stay true to human principles." Salira considered him quietly. "Then perhaps we can honor both. Our traditions value problem-solving as much as courage. You have shown skill, creativity, and respect. Perhaps there is another way to fulfill the law without violating your principles." Elias looked at her hopefully. "Another way?" "Yes," Salira said, smiling faintly. "Honor can be fulfilled by shared purpose, not only by marriage. You have already proven that you contribute to our people. If your work strengthens the settlement, protects our culture, and builds trust between our worlds, the debt of honor can be considered complete." Relief washed over Elias. He realized that the solution was not a rejection of culture, but a collaboration, an opportunity to redefine tradition without disrespecting it. That afternoon, Tsarok summoned the settlement's elders and Elias to the central chamber. The room was filled with the quiet hum of energy flowing through crystal conduits. The Apache collective had gathered, their golden eyes watching intently. Elias felt the weight of their gaze, but also a sense of belonging. He was no longer an outsider. Tsarok stepped forward, his expression calm and measured. "Elias Ward," he began, his voice carrying authority and warmth, "you have saved my life, proven your worth, and shown respect for our ways. Yet, human law and custom differ from ours. You cannot marry my daughter by choice, and that is understood." Elias listened carefully, holding his breath. "However," Tsarok continued, "your actions have honored my family, strengthened our settlement, and built a bridge between our people. You are now part of our world, not by marriage, but by contribution, understanding, and shared purpose. This is a higher honor than even I could have imagined." A murmur of approval swept through the chamber. The elders nodded, and even the young apprentices whispered among themselves in admiration. Elias felt a warmth in his chest, a mixture of pride, relief, and gratitude. Salira approached him, standing beside her father. "You have fulfilled the law of honor," she said softly. "Not by ceremony, but by thought, action, and respect. That is what our people truly value." Elias smiled. "I never expected to learn this much when I came to Zyphura. I feel at home here in a way I never thought possible." Tsarok placed a hand on Elias' shoulder. "Then you are truly welcome. You are a bridge between our worlds. Your ingenuity, courage, and respect have proven that humans are capable of great things. Let this day be remembered, not as a trial of marriage, but as the day humans and Apache began a new path together." The rest of the day was filled with celebration. The settlement prepared a gathering in the central plaza. Glowing lights reflected off the crystalline buildings, and soft music, produced by vibrating energy channels, filled the air. The Apache danced, shared stories, and honored the contributions of both humans and their own people. Elias stood among them, observing the intricate interplay of tradition, technology, and community. He watched Salira teaching young apprentices, guiding them as they worked on energy channels and water systems. She moved with quiet authority, yet allowed creativity to flourish. Elias realized that she was a leader not because of law, but because of wisdom, patience, and empathy, the very qualities he had tried to emulate. Later, Elias and Salira walked to the edge of the settlement, overlooking the vast desert. The twin suns were low on the horizon, casting golden reflections over the dunes. The air was warm, calm, and filled with the scent of mineral-rich sand. "You have changed our world," Salira said, her voice gentle. "And perhaps our world has changed you too." Elias considered her words. "It has. Humans think of survival as a battle, but I've learned it can also be understanding, respect, and collaboration. I came here seeking adventure, but I've found purpose." Salira nodded. "That is why you are honored among us. You see the value of thinking, of respecting life, and of building connections. That is humanity at its best." Elias smiled faintly. "Then perhaps humans and Apache can teach each other, learn from each other, and explore the galaxy together, not as conquerors but as partners." Salira's eyes reflected a soft light from the setting suns. "Yes, that is the future I hope for, a world where differences are strengths, not barriers." As night fell over Zyphura, the settlement glowed beneath the twin moons. Elias sat quietly in the garden with Salira, reflecting on everything he had learned. The trials had tested his intellect, his adaptability, and his respect for culture. But the greatest lesson was something deeper. True honor was not about rules, law, or ceremony. It was about empathy, understanding, and shared purpose. The next morning, Elias worked alongside Salira and the apprentices, helping refine energy systems and water distribution. The settlement moved more efficiently than ever before, and Elias felt a sense of fulfillment he had never known on Earth. Each improvement, each adjustment, was a tangible way to honor Sarok and his people without compromising his own values. Over the following cycles, Elias became an integral part of the settlement. He taught human methods of problem-solving, encouraged creativity, and helped the Apache develop new technologies that respected their traditions. In turn, he learned from them rituals, philosophy, and a perspective that valued community over individual ambition. The humans and Apache worked together on exploration projects, mapping uncharted desert regions, studying Zyphera's unique ecology, and discovering renewable energy sources. Each success reinforced trust and deepened bonds. Humans were no longer strangers. They were allies, partners, and friends. One evening, Elias stood at the edge of a dune, watching the sunset with Salira by his side. "I never thought a single act, saving a life, would lead to this," he said. Salira smiled. "Sometimes, the smallest actions create the largest changes. Your courage, thoughtfulness, and ingenuity have not only honored my father, but have shown our people that humans are capable of great good." Elias looked at her, feeling a sense of connection that went beyond law, obligation, or culture. It was respect, friendship, and trust, the foundation of a new era between humans and the Apache collective. As the twin moons rose, Elias knew that this was just the beginning. The galaxy was vast, full of unknown worlds, cultures, and challenges. Yet he also knew that humanity could thrive, not by force, but by thinking, adapting, and honoring life in all its forms. And in that moment, beneath Zyphera's glowing sky, Elias realized the truth of the chieftain's lesson. True honor is not given. It is earned through action, respect, and the courage to do what is right. Humanity's greatest strength lay not in conquest or numbers, but in the power of the mind, the heart, and the willingness to connect across worlds. The settlement continued to glow in the desert night, a beacon of possibility. Elias and Salira stood side by side, looking toward a future where humans and Apache could explore, learn, and grow together. One life saved had created a bond that spanned worlds, and one human had shown that ingenuity, respect, and courage could truly honor not only life, but the potential of the universe itself.